Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today we're gonna dive into the next mega sampler session of our mega sampler pack. And we're gonna dive today into a sencha which I want to try out. This will be the Kagoshima Murasaki Sencha. So this is the tea we're gonna try out today. It is actually a deep steamed tea, but let's just start it at the beginning of this. So when we talk about the Murasaki Sencha of Mr. Kawaji, who is in the south, close to Kagoshima, so in the very south of the main island of Japan, then we talk about often deep steamed teas when it comes to the cultivar, so the tea varietal of this tea. The Yutaka Midori is actually a derivative, or it is grown out of seeds of the Asatsuyu, which is already a kind of a climate weak cultivar, if you may say so. It is a tea which is, or a tea plant which is not very resistant to frost, and so it is with the Yutaka Midori. The Yutaka Midori actually is a cultivar which is very famous in Japan, but mainly in the south of Japan. So when we talk about the most spread or the most planted cultivars or tea varietals in Japan, we talk about Yabukita. This you might have heard of, or you have seen in other videos when we were talking about Yabukita. But number two already is the Yutaka Midori, and it accounts for around 30% of the whole planting fields in the south of Japan. So as soon as we go in the warmer climate where the cultivar or the tea varietal doesn't have to be frost resistant, then we talk about Yutaka Midori coming into the forefront. This cultivar in general has a very beautiful note to it, but there's some kind of pre-process that have to be done with this tea. The Yutaka Midori, if you take it as a sencha, it is quite an astringent tea, and the color is a little bit pale. So what this tea actually needs to become its fine, beautiful notes is actually that it has to be steamed, and longer steamed, so-called fukamushicha, so a long or deep steaming method has to be applied. And on the other hand, it has to be shaded to really become its sweet note. So then it will move away from an astringent note, and it can become a very beautiful tea and in tasteful tea. But when we talk about fukamushicha, so the deep steaming, then we talk about smaller needles. So when we just have a look at the leaves of this tea, so I have this 5 grams, which I have here in this sample pack, and you look at it, so you can see the little bit brittle leaves, but you also can see that the leaves are quite dark. So we can really see it's a beautiful kind of dark shaded tea, but brittle due to the long steaming of this tea. Steaming, when you steam it for longer, actually the cell membranes, they break down easier, and actually that's why the reason, or that is the reason why this tea is a little bit more brittle. But when we have a look at the taste notes, that's very interesting, because the deep steaming or the longer steaming or the fukamushicha really suppresses also the catechins. So it doesn't lower the amount of catechins, because catechins, they are heat resistant, but it suppresses them a little bit. So you get much more of the finer, sweeter, smoother notes of the tea which are coming out. And then you have a beautiful tea, which then finally results in a beautiful flavor of this one here. So here we talk about mainly Yutaka Midori. There are a little bit other cultivars in, so but Mr. Kawaji just told us that it is a main Yutaka Midori blend. So we're gonna hop into the taste of this tea. Yutaka Midori is actually not a nationally registered tea cultivar, but in Kagoshima it is locally registered, and this tea, as I said before, is quite common in the area. So for Kagoshima, quite a relevant tea. When we talk about the taste of Yutaka Midori, before I tasting. I'm tasting this tea. I was looking up a little bit the taste notes also of Yutaka Midori. Often when you talk about Yutaka Midori, you talk about smooth, sweet tea with a delicate astringency. So there's some kind of a small astringency should be still with the tea. Then you talk about fruitiness. In the fruity section, there often the word melon pops up. So we have kind of a sweet melony flavor profile and some subtle notes. Additionally to that, we talk about cucumber, which can become a little bit from, or which can come from the fresh side. And then you have a little bit the citrusy, which is, I think, a product also of the slight astringency of the tea, or the delicate astringency we were talking before. Fukamushi will give it a round, a full-bodied flavor, and in the end, you will have kind of a full-body, quite sweet with a delicate astringency in terms of taste notes. So 40 seconds is actually enough after Mr. Kawaji. 75 Celsius. I used now 70 degrees Celsius. So 40 seconds, 70 degrees Celsius, which is around 165 Fahrenheit. So this is around the tea temperature I'm using, or the water temperature, to brew this tea. When we have a look at the leaves, so here we can see the leaves kind of open up, but not yet fully open. So we still have 2 brewings more to go, which will I do today. So to just have a look at the tea, how it is in the second and third brewing. So this is number 1. Let's try number 1. So I get a lot of umami, sweet. It's true. I got, if we go into the territory of melon, I would say it's honey melon. It's not kind of watermelon or anything like this fresh part is not there yet. This also citrusy note. I get more of the umami flavor, I got sweetness, I get a little bit of this melon. If there is a little bit of this delicate astringency, citrusy notes, it's very, very slight, so very, very low. So the first brewing, this tea, beautifully sweet, melony taste, and this full, rich aroma, but kind of this full bodiness I didn't get now from the first brewing. Let's go to the second one. Here in the second one, you will definitely see that the color will change. Often it is with the Fukamushi teas. It is actually that the second brewing is especially beautiful in terms of this green or kind of intense green note. Let's have a look at it, and yes, it is really getting into a very beautiful intense green color, this tea, so you really can see that the tea becomes in this second brewing intense, much more intense when we have a look at these two. So here this is the first brewing and the second brewing now, so we can really see the difference. So quite interesting in terms of color difference of the first and second brewing. Good. So now that we have a little bit of this more green, more intense color, I'm expecting a little bit more of these cucumbery notes coming out. Maybe also a little bit more of citrusy, because the kind of this suppressed catechins, they might come a little bit more to the forefront. So now I'm curious to see how the second brewing of this tea is. Still very sweet, very round. Now it gets really full-bodied. So what I missed a little bit in the first brewing is this typical full-bodied, which was told to me that this tea has in the first brewing. It's there's a smooth creaminess with it, but this kind of full-bodied character really comes out in the second brewing. And as expected, a little bit greener, so I get a little bit of fresh spinach as well. I get this cucumber, but more on the fresh spinach side. So the cucumber I always get when there's always a little bit of a citrusy note with it, kind of a refreshing character with it. which I'm not getting. I'm imagining it that it might be the case when you cold brew this tea. This must be also a very, very good tea to cold brew. In general, Fukamushi or deep steam tea are very good to cold brew. And there I would expect a little bit more of this refreshing tones of the cucumber coming to the forefront. Here I get much more, a little bit of a greener, but a kind of a fresh greener note. So the cucumber has a little bit of the fresh watery note. Here I get a kind of a young green kind of spring grass note with it, which I'm linking much more to kind of a young spinach note than to a cucumber note. But still very sweet. Melon taste still there. Umami a little bit lower. It's not as strong as with the first one. So second one as well. Very, very nice in terms of the sweetness. No astringency or no strong astringency. Maybe if there is a little bit, only very small hint of astringency. But still, in my opinion, this tea very, very sweet. And for me, astringency not there. In the taste profile of this tea. Now let's go to number 3. As you can see, I will brew them only 20 seconds in the second and third brewing. In the first, we have the tea leaves opening up, and then, okay, let's have the comparison again. Good. And let's pour. So again, now it's clear that this one here is brighter due to the light, but if I just put them maybe like this, you can really see how the color of the tea really evolves. And here these two are very close to each other. Here a little bit brighter, even here you still have a kind of a darkness, darker tone, darker green tone, but now I'm curious to see if the taste has changed in any way. I would say that the second and the third one are really close to each other, but let's have a look. So third one gets a little bit softer in terms of taste. So the stronger taste profile, so umami rich taste profile is definitely in the first two. In the third one, but still no astringency. I don't get the citrusy note. I don't get the refreshing tones. So it stays all in all a very, very sweet tea. So if I can compare them, here we have definitely the strongest umami. There's this melony tone, so the sweet fruitness or the fruity taste coming with it. Very smooth. I would even add in a little bit of, it's not a nuttiness, but it's kind of a hint of a small kind of cashew texture flavor, kind of very, very, very small, but kind of in this, I think this I link with this creaminess which this tea kind of gets in the first brewing. It's kind of if it's a slight silky wandering over the tongue, so quite interesting, but definitely umami rich. Then the second one, much greener. This, when you let it sit a little bit in your palate, you can really get this much fresher, greener taste profile. Still very sweet, moving a little bit away from the umami, moving more into a greener space. As I said, the fresh spinach is definitely there, but the melon is also very present, so we're moving away a little bit from this savory, more into a sweeter and fresher note. And then the third one, now in comparison with the second and the third, second and the first, I really see that here we got a little bit of this fresher tone. So I get a little bit of the citrusy. Now in the second sip, and the water cooled down a little bit, so I can really taste more of the citrusy note. But it's, as I said, quite small, quite decent, so it's not an astringent tea at all when you taste it. So quite interesting in terms of sweetness. umami flavor, and in the end you get a little bit of a refreshing tone, so moving a little bit away from the sweetness, more in the territory of a fresher citrusy flavor profile. Good, this was the Murasaki Sencha. I hope you like this one too, and please leave us a comment, like, subscribe, and let us know if there's any topic we should cover. This was the Murasaki Sencha. Thanks a lot for watching. See you and bye bye.